In today's video, we are going to go over the absolute most important step you must learn to decrease your chances of falling and ending up with a serious injury. If you're new to this channel, I'm Tara, I'm a neurologic physical therapist, and on this channel we talk about anything and everything related to mobility, health, fitness, and mindset to empower you with as many tools as possible to take full ownership of your recovery and your overall health. And all that said, today we are going to go over a curtsy step or a curtsy lunge. That name for it seems to make the most sense to me visually as to what we're actually going to go over today, but it is literally stepping back and curtsy. Absolutely the most important step you have to learn if you are a community ambulator. Now, why is this step so important? I call this like the danger zone. So if you have hemiparesis, the most risky place that you could lose your balance, that's probably going to end with the most serious injuries, is backwards and towards your weak side, especially if you have a lot of arm involvement. You lose your balance in that direction, you don't have an arm on that side to reach out, and in many cases, your leg is not strong enough to pull you forward and kind of back off in the direction towards your stronger side. So what is your next option? Your next option is to do what we call a stepping strategy. That is a balance strategy. It's kind of like a last resort balance strategy. First, we try and bring our body back within our base of support using our ankle muscles and our hip muscles, right? Center of mass, back within our base of support. When those two systems fail, and that usually occurs if we're pushed outside of our base of support a little bit more significantly or perturbed a little bit more significantly, and we can't bring ourselves back, the last resort option is to take a step, and that's where this curtsy comes into place. Now, why just a curtsy and why not just like step behind? Well, because in many cases, what I've seen happen, not in all cases, but in many cases, is that when you are falling and you feel like you're falling, your brain kind of panics, that leg will lock out. Okay, so then add to that, you are crossing midline, which we talk a lot about on this channel, and how that just kind of jumbles your brain if you've had damage to one side of your brain. So that's discomfort number 2, is now your brain is like, oh no, I'm gonna be crossing midline. I don't really know what to do with my feet. That's situation number 2. And then number 3 is your foot has just never been over here. And so you don't really know how to distribute your body weight when your feet are kind of crossed in this direction, which also throws people off. And when people panic, this is why I spend so much time going over different ways to get down onto the ground. I try and eliminate almost every opportunity for your brain to panic as possible. And how do you do that? Is you get yourself into a lot of these situations so that when you're in the midst of an unpredicted situation, like you do not predict or anticipate that you're going to lose your balance, we want you to be as comfortable with all the different scenarios that could potentially happen to decrease your body from overreacting because you panic. Okay, so we're trying to expose your brain and your body to as many of the experiences that could potentially occur when you lose your balance, so that when this does happen and this unexpected loss of balance happens, you are less likely to panic and do some sort of an overreaction that actually contributes to falling or falling harder. Right? And that's where this comes in, is you want this to be so comfortable that when you are pushed in that direction, you don't panic, you just step and then you step back. Okay? So curtsy step is what we're going into. It needs to be comfortable so that when you get into that situation, your leg doesn't want to lock out, okay, and push you back, right? So what do we have to do first? We have to soft knees and just step back, okay? Soft knees and just step back. That's gonna be super uncomfortable for a lot of you right there. If that is you, Work on it until it's comfortable. Don't go any further than what we just went over. Work on that until it is comfortable. Okay, soft knees, bend your knees, step, back, step, back, step, back. Okay, if all you can do is this, start there. Then once you can do that, try and step back and just get it a little bit closer to your other foot, okay? So start stepping back, wide base, and then step back and just get them a little bit more in a straight line and back. You want to be able to get into the position and out of the position. Your brain knows all of this. So if your brain does not feel like if it puts this foot down over here, you're going to be able to recover and get out of that, you are going to be less likely in the midst of a loss of balance to cross that leg behind and over, because your brain just doesn't know what to do with that. It's not going to do something unfamiliar like that if it doesn't know how it can get out of it, right? I think. I've never talked to your all's brains. I've never talked to my brain. I'm just kind of speculating based on years and years of observation, not only in the clinic, but witnessing people fall in public, okay? So I've just come up with these hypotheses just through observation, but your brain has to feel comfortable that if you do make that crossover step, A, you're not gonna hit the floor, and B, you're gonna be able to get out of it. So you're just kind of working that leg further and further back, okay? Now you're gonna go back and try and get it a little bit more in a straight line. So it's further back, and you can almost see it peeking out on this side of my foot now, right? And then in that position, you're gonna do a little double knee bend, back up, and step back. Over, double knee bend, and back. Okay, why are we doing this little mini squat? Because I promise you guys, I'm breaking it down and I'm creating a little bit of an exercise so that you have to kind of pause in this position, think for a second, your brain has to shift to the squat, back up and across. Why is that? Because a lot of times I see this, right? Like people get in there like, oh, I gotta get out of that. So just creating a little step back, squat, back up and back. It'll just slow you down a little bit. It'll kind of almost challenge you or kind of encourage you to keep that foot over there just a little bit longer than you might be comfortable with, okay? And then back. All right, next you're going to bring it all the way around. So it's all the way around on this foot and it's pointing forward. This is probably the most advanced. What many of you are going to be stuck at for a while, which is fine, not stuck at, but you're going to get it across, but it's going to be kind of pointed kind of to the side. I like to work with this with people until they can get their foot pointing forward. It's a big jump. It requires a little bit more range of motion in your hips, which I think is problematic for some people. But the reason I'm showing it to you is because it is possible. I hear people tell me all the time, like, my hips just don't like go that way. It's just a matter of kind of rotating your trunk a little bit and just relaxing your body, okay? So if you really feel like you just can't do it, hold on to something, get near a wall, make yourself as comfortable as possible so that your body can relax. Same thing, little squat, back up, and cross back over. Now, the important thing to remember is some of the anxiety or some of the fear comes from not really knowing how to shift your body weight from like one foot to the other. So when you're in this position, you're wanting to step back, you first have to think, shift your body over that weaker leg, okay? Shift your body over that weaker leg and then step. What I see a lot is that people try and pick that foot up and they're not shifted over this leg. So you gotta shift your body, center it over that weaker leg first, and then step. And then go back and try and shift your weight to that back leg, that stronger leg. Okay, when your feet are twisted like this, I don't know why, when you're standing like this, people, it's pretty easy for them to compensate and stand on their stronger leg. But for some reason, it is a little bit more challenging for some people who are earlier in rehab once they cross their feet to shift their weight to this back leg. So it's also just getting used to shifting your weight from foot to foot in different foot positions, okay? And hold that little squat, back up, and step back, cross over, little squat, back up, and back, over, little squat, back up, and back. And then you can go a little bit deeper. Cross, deep. Okay, see where that knee is? You can see it on the other side of that foot. Okay, so this is where it differs from kind of like what the fitness people show you when they show you this type of a squat. We're trying to get our hips really, really rotated, get comfortable being in these kind of awkward positions where your hips are rotated. Your muscles just have to work completely different. Okay, so cross, go as low as you can, back up, shift back to the, your involved leg. I'm not gonna say weaker leg, but your involved leg, and then step back. All right, so I hope you guys found this video helpful. Don't underestimate this activity. I swear, I think it is absolutely going to prevent a broken arm, which happens quite frequently in the early stages of rehab, breaking that weak arm, right? It's definitely gonna help that. Gonna help prevent maybe some of those head injuries that can happen when you fall backwards and towards your weak side, and definitely, the broken hips. So you're just gonna decrease your risk of ending up with a serious injury when you lose your balance back into that danger zone. But if you're new to this channel and you found this video helpful and you haven't yet subscribed, make sure before you leave today that you hit that subscribe button and you turn on that notification bell. I enjoyed spending time with you all today, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day.